Hi everyone. Let's practice some more multiplying and dividing in scientific notation. First, let's practice multiplication. So we have 8 times 10 to the 5th times 6 times 10 to the negative 3rd. So remember, the first thing you want to do is take those decimal numbers that are in front and just multiply them. 8 times 6 would be 48. Then we have to take care of our powers of 10. So what I'm multiplying is 10 to the 5th times 10 to the negative 3rd. I'm taking this number times this number. And since they both have a base of 10, that'll be my base number still. And what I do is I add the exponents. So off to the side here, let's do 5 plus negative 3. Now if you're having trouble adding and subtracting with negatives, make some pictures. So this would really be 5 positives. And this here is 3 negatives. And remember, when you have a positive and a negative, this only works for addition, that they cancel each other out. So a positive cancels out with a negative. A positive cancels out with a negative, and a positive cancels out with a negative. So what do we have left? 2 positives, so our answer is positive 2. So that means that my exponent here is a positive 2, because 5 plus negative 3 would be 2. So this is 48 times 10 squared. Now I finished the multiplication and I could say that that's my answer. However, that's not in scientific notation, because that number in front of the decimal has to be from 1 through 9. And currently my decimal's here and the number in front of it is 48. So to change that so that it's in scientific notation, let's first change it to standard notation. So if I have 48 times 10 squared, my decimal's currently here, and times 10 squared tells me to move the decimal. I want to make this number bigger because this is positive 2. So I will move the decimal to the right 2 spaces. And that becomes 4,800. Now let's change it back into scientific notation, this time putting the decimal in the correct place. So in order to make it so that the number in front of the decimal is from 1 to 9, I would have to place my decimal here. That way it would be 4.8. Now I can do 4.8 times 10, and now my decimal was here, and I have to move it 1, 2, 3 spaces. So it would be times 10 to the 3rd. So I've multiplied and I've made sure that my final answer is in scientific notation. So this right here would be my final answer, 4.8 times 10 to the 3rd power. Now let's take a look at an example using division. 6 times 10 to the 3rd divided by 8 times 10 to the negative 2nd power. First, we are going to divide these two numbers. So 6 divided by 8. Quick review of long division. How many times does 8 go into 6? It doesn't, so I put a 0. In order to add another 0, which I need here, I have to put my decimal. Now I can add a 0, and I can ask myself, how many times does 8 go into 60? That would be 7. And I multiply 7 times 8 and get 56. When I subtract 60 minus 56, I get 4. And now I can bring down another 0. And I can ask myself, how many times does 8 go into 40? That would be 5. And 5 times 8 is 40. And when I subtract that, I get 0. So dividing that, I get 0.75. So that will be the first part of my answer. And now I've got to take care of the powers of 10. So I'm taking 10 to the 3rd divided by 10 to the negative 2nd power. Remember, when you're dividing powers with the same base, they both have a 10. My base will stay as a 10, and I subtract 3 minus negative 2. Listen to what I said. 3 minus, I have to subtract them, and then negative 2. And now in order to figure out what this is in easier terms, all I have to do is change it to addition, because the rules for addition are so much easier. And I change it to addition by following that saying, same, add, opposite. That means the first number stays the same. My subtraction changes to addition. And the opposite of a -2 is +2. And now look at how easy that is. It's 3 plus 2, which is 5. So my exponent here is a 5, because 3 minus -2 is 5. So what I have down here at the very bottom is 0.75 times 10 to the 5th. So I've taken care of the division and I have an answer. However, this number again is not in scientific notation, because the number in front of the decimal has to be from 1 through 9, and currently it's 0. So let's work on changing that. So again, if you're having trouble changing this to scientific notation, let's change it to standard and then convert it back into scientific. So 0.75 times 10 to the 5th power, since this is a +5, that tells me that I will move that decimal to the right 5 spaces, because I want a big number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now this 0 is gone, so I have 75000. The decimal's at the end, so I don't have to write it, so it's 75,000. Now when I'm converting it back into scientific notation, I'll think, okay, where do I need that decimal to be? Well, it's got to be between the 7 and the 5. That way the number in front of the decimal is a 7. That is a number that's from 1 through 9. So my new number will be 7.5 times 10. And my decimal was at the end, so how many times did I have to move it to get to here? That would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So my final answer, it's not this because that's not in scientific notation, my final answer would be 7.5 times 10 to the 4th power. So that's all for multiplying and dividing. Bye guys.